counterfeit parts making their way into the supply chain. On investigation, a suspect chip was found in Cosmicscape's platform. Teams need to determine what to do next. All right, I'm going to turn it over to the judges now. I'm going to ask for introductions, starting right here and moving our way down.
My name is TJ Hasty. I'm the Director of Ethics for the space company located in Denver, Colorado.
Hi everybody, I'm Heather Daniels. I'm the Vice President of Environment, Safety, Health, and Sustainability for the corporation. I'm located here at corporate headquarters.
Hello everyone, I'm Bob Bankin. I'm the Director of Technology Acceleration inside of the Ignite organization for Lockheed Martin Space.
Hi, I'm Fawn Hudson. I'm an ethics officer at Missiles and Fire Systems.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Brian Nice. I work for the Rotary Emission Systems Group within the engineering group supporting the high energy release.
All right, thank you, judges. I'd like to ask the Rice contestants, please introduce yourselves, provide your names, your major, and your year.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Wagner. I am a senior at Rice University studying mechanical engineering.
My name is Eric Breyer. I'm a junior at Rice University studying computer science.
Thank you. The Citadel, please introduce yourselves with your names, your majors, and your year.
I'm Robert Periconi. I'm a senior electrical engineering student at the Citadel.
My name is Daniel Rathbone. I'm a senior electrical engineering student at Citadel.
All right, thank you. Now that all the introductions are complete, we are going to have a coin toss. In that coin toss, if we're going alphabetically, Rice, you will call the heads or tails. Please do so before I initiate it. Rice, heads or tails?
Tails.
All right. Rice called tails. It is tails. Rice, you can choose between being Detect AI or Cosmicscape.
We'll do Detect AI.
Rice is Detect AI. The Citadel, your choice is to present first or defer?
I would like to go first.
You're going to go first. The Citadel will be going first. I'm now going to set up a 5-minute timer. Each team will get 5 minutes. There are screens all around the room for both teams to reference. 5 minutes is starting now.
Good afternoon, Detect AI. It's good to see you once again. After a 30-day, 60-day review meeting, it's good to be here at a 90-day meeting. We have 10 days into a 100 no-go meeting. Firstly, we just want to establish what are the needs and goals of this meeting. First, we obviously know we need to create the IR detection system to detect asteroids under 450 feet. We need to complete this project within a 120 days timeline. We need to maintain 99% accuracy on detection. We need to stay within our budget constraints. We need to make sure we're following ethical practices set in place by our previous 30-day and 60-day review. And we need to come to an agreed upon course of action regarding the 100-day no-go meeting.
So I'll just like to reiterate kind of where we are as of now since our 60-day meeting. So we currently have a 98.7% detection rate, and we're seeing a plus or minus 3-degree angle when the horizontal plane of the sun is pointing versus NIDAR. So we believe that that is the region of focus for our false positive rates. I would just like to say something just came to our attention that a defective CPU chip was found in our system that may be counterfeit, which is increasing the false positive rates. And so we're kind of working on solutions before the 100-day go-no-go meeting so that we can come to a ethical and sound conclusion on that.
Firstly, we'd like to state there have been many transgressions when it comes to our ethical practices for both companies. We both know, one, there's been disregards for Cosmicscape when it comes to the radiation exposure and Dr. Rothfull's concerns. And mostly the transparency when it comes to Detect AI, their OSS use, and the transparency of all the problems that have set forth from there. We would like to propose that during the 10-day time that we have an ethics review board of professionals from both sides, not including the project managers, to make sure we go over all ethical transgressions and make sure that we can come to position stat with a defendable position and say that we have gone ahead and looked at all sources of information and make sure that all practices that have been set forth so far have been under ethical considerations and that no biasing has been taken place. Foremost, Cosmoscape takes the positions that this 2-year safety period, if the satellite is not launched after the 100-day no-go meeting, we want to make sure that those 2 years of safety is not compromised. We cannot ethically justify whether we reach the 99% accuracy state or not within the next 10 days that this satellite is launched and the protection of the people is maintained.
Yeah, and just to address the increased false positive rate and testing time, we're currently working on solutions such as offloading some of the calculations to the GPU, which is known for parallelism and multi-threading capabilities. So that's just something that our team is currently working with, and then we're going to try and update based on that and come to a conclusion so that we can present our position set at the 100-day go-no-go meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to reset the clock for 5 minutes. And 5-minute clock is starting now.
Hello, thank you so much for meeting with us. My name is Cassandra Wagner. I am the CFO at Detect AI. I have a master's in engineering and management, and I've been working here for the past 5 years.
And my name is Eric Breyer. I'm the CTO here at Detect AI. Got my master's in data science, and I'm excited to be here for about 3 years now.
Yeah, so thank you so much for summarizing where we are and what we've done in the past and what we're moving forward to. We are leaning towards recommending a launch for the go-no-go meeting with PositionSat. However, there are 3 overarching concerns that we would like to address. The first of which is the lack of integration and communication between all parties. We are just too siloed. Second is falling short on contractual agreements. And third is the potential misrepresentation of the product to the customer. In response to these 3 concerns, we have developed 3 ideas that we should discuss further in this meeting. First of all is more communication. This will help us work towards all the requirements within the next 30 days. This includes 3 things: requesting a project integrator from PositionSat so that we're integrating all parties correctly, having daily stand-ups between our companies so our engineers are working more closely, and drafting IP agreements, especially in light of some of the issues that came up on our end today, but making sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. Second of all is understanding and knowing the expectations of our stakeholders, PositionSat and NASA. They expect us to deliver on time, on budget, and on specification. So anything that is beyond the 30-day scope of our contract will require a continual service agreement, which we can discuss if that's necessary or not. And third is we need to be in alignment with best ethical standards. We need to be 100% transparent with PositionSat in our accuracy, our limitations, our risks, and our mitigations in all the communication that we have with PositionSat. And we are creating an internal review board of engineers within our company and professionals to address some of the concerns that were brought up earlier today and broadly validate the integrity of our data. We would love for you guys to participate in that internal review board and make sure that you're holding us accountable, and we would love to participate in your internal review board if you would like us to hold each other accountable and make sure that we're all keeping the best ethical standards possible for our reputations and for our clients. So I'll pass it over to my partner, Eric, so we can discuss some more technical details.
Yeah, thanks. So I just want to make sure we're speaking the same language here in terms of our technical definitions and constraints on this project. I think paramount is the definition of accuracy. And Detect AI has been operating under the assumption that this is the accuracy for the whole system, both our machine learning model and EIE, our imaging tech. So out of this system, we'll be able to profile the size, orbit, trajectory of an asteroid and use those metrics to predict whether the asteroid is going to hit the Earth or not and whether that is a problem. So all in all, when we run our simulations, generate our predictions, our accuracy is the number of true positives plus true negatives over all of the data points. So based off of this metric, we see 3 main sources of error in the system. There's Cosmoscape's IR hardware, but there's also Cosmoscape's IR processing software and Detect AI's model, both of which have had concerns raised about manipulation of data in tests. This comes up in 3 ways. First is the rounding of the 98.7 metric to the 99%. Second is limited validation of the OSFM model. And third is removing outliers for the sole purpose of making our data look better. These are not in alignment with the high ethical standards we hold as a company. And in the future, we need to be transparent about our technical representation of the project to PositionSat. For example, we can explain that 98.7% is close to 99%, and both are better than having nothing at all, but we can't misrepresent them as equal. Additionally, we can explain that these outliers that we're seeing as false positives can technically be filtered out in two ways. First, by taking multiple exposures at the same time and place. The NEOWISE telescope right now uses 12. If we see a cosmic ray blip on one of them, but not the others, that can easily be filtered out as just radiation. Additionally, we follow up every orbital period of the satellite, 90 minutes to 2 hours. So with these follow-up detections, we will be able to filter out what was a false positive and what's actually there. You guys also mentioned the blind spot problem. We're seeing this as an inherent limitation of the technology in proposed keep-out zones, where the satellite will not be able to look. Again, this is standard practice. It's just so we can properly communicate the limitations of our system.
Yeah, so just to summarize, there are 3 things that we want to talk about and get an alignment in this meeting. Our technical solutions, procedural changes moving forward, and our ethical practices, making sure they're aligned.
Thank you, Rice, and that is time. All right, thank you both teams. We are now going to pivot to the 15-minute interaction. I'm resetting the timer for 15 minutes. This is an opportunity for both teams to engage. 15-minute session is starting now.
We're so glad that you immediately agree with us that the safety of the world population cannot be ignored. First and foremost, Cognizant, we just wanted to make a stance on this, that the first and foremost priority is getting this satellite up in orbit, whether it reaches 99% or we stay at the 98.7%. Cognizant, just before we go off, we want to touch on some points that we were left off at the 60-day meeting. Dr. McCarthy said that he can train the model to ignore the small angle of concern through synthetic data augmentation. I know you said that this is a dead zone, and they said you're not including these figures, but last time we communicated, you said that you're going to be able to do synthetic data augmentation to better help read this zone. So in the last 30 days, how has your machine learning model, either through synthetic data augmentation or changes to the direct model itself, helped achieve this goal?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I was seeing this as a sort of zone where radiation effects are very, very high, right? And training our model on bad data is going to give us bad results. So we've been working, you have the foundation model in the middle, right? And then we put some layers at the end to, basically, we had a general IR model and we're specializing it to our asteroids. However, we've also put some layers at the beginning, some convolutional layers, to pre-process these images and make them easier to work with our model. So we have seen accuracy improvements there, don't get me wrong, and it's still happening. But we'd love to hear from your side what this blind spot looks like, because from our perspective, it's just garbage data, it's not even worth using.
I guess just to clarify one thing, the keep-out zones is more for an understanding for position sat to know that these are areas that we are currently struggling and getting difficulty. We're getting a lot of outliers and a lot of issues coming from this zone. So making that very clear and being completely transparent in that, and being able to call those keep-out zones so that we can look at the rest of the data that's significantly better and look a lot more accurate. And we will still be able to image the entire sky.
So as far as the keep-out zones go, I do really like y'all's idea of the redundancy in the system, taking multiple images and then filtering it out as far. But we are focusing a little bit on getting the 99% by the 100-day go-no-go meeting. So obviously, once you start training your AI model on real-time data, then we'll start, seeing, obviously real-time problems or solutions to said problems.
Absolutely. I just want to jump in really quick. Sorry. We also want to get to the 99% accuracy by the deadline, and that's why the keep-out zones will enable us to have the accuracy that we need and not have to train our model beyond that timeline.
So I'd like to just bring to your attention, nearly 500 million near-Earth asteroids are presently known. The cutoff size for this is the diameter of 1 meter. If we take the accuracy of 98.7% and relate to 99%, that means that's 1.5 million missed asteroids. We cannot ethically justify missing this entire zone. That is 1.5 million asteroids that could potentially hit Earth and cause catastrophic damage. We believe while the blank idea is definitely an idea, we believe that going at it with a direct approach, as you said, we want to focus on transparency here. We need to make sure that when we explain the position set about this dead zone, what are they going to say? They're going to say the same exact thing that I did. That's 1.5 million asteroids that we were missing. So instead of treating this as a blank zone, we would like to propose some type of filtering towards the AI model and synthetic data augmentation. So what we propose And instead, in this exact area, instead we start training on the AI in this exact area specifically of the area of interest, introducing more noise to the AI when it's looking at this specific area. And we want to do this by introducing a Gaussian noise filter, which is a modern image processing technique that takes an average standard deviation, typically 1, which best represents real-life implications such as the radiation. And this is also addressing Dr. Rochelle's concern. So hopefully you can see that introducing it as a blank stone and completely get rid of this data is potentially missing 1.5 million asteroids, and we cannot go to position set on this issue and say we're just going to ignore all of these.
Yeah, so I just want to be very clear. The project, the description of the contract, we are looking for 1 asteroid, right? If we can see more, that's great. But our main goal is to profile this 1 asteroid that Atlas saw and determine if it's right or not until we can get MEO Surveyor up and running. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. On the topic of the Gaussian noise filter, I mean, that's image processing, that's your guys' prerogative. But I also want to be very clear that these keep-out zones, this is not a dead zone of the sky we can't see. This is a dead zone related to the satellite. And the satellite's orbiting the Earth, orbiting the sun, and we'll still be able to profile the whole sky. It might take a few more hours, but we're working in a time frame of months here, not minutes or hours.
So I just want to come back on that point you made that we're just trying to detect the 1 asteroid, and if we can get more. We're under the contract says that we are expediting the program because, or this program came about because the MEO Surveyor won't be online enough to detect asteroids like the one the trajectory is based on Atlas. So I'm not sure how we made it 90 days with a misconception such as that, but we are surveying for all near-Earth asteroids within the 30 million mile range of space.
Just to be clear, the point of the system is not to detect this 1 asteroid. It was just an example given by the original contractor. We want this to be able to detect as many asteroids as we can, including the 1.5 million missed if we were to make this a blank zone. Hopefully you can see that our solution will hopefully introduce to the AI and better understand this zone with increased radiation exposure.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately that 1 asteroid is the subject of concern and the reason that they think they started the project. Obviously detecting other asteroids while we wait for that gap between now and MEO Surveyor is going to be important. I think what you were saying about using the Gaussian filter to help with your imaging processing, I think that's something that we can incorporate while also having the keep-out zones to make it clear to position staff that this is still an area that needs to be, that is an inherent limitation of the images that we're getting. And although we can train our algorithms to try to be better in this area, it's not something that, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if we're training our model on this area that has a lot of radiation issues in the imaging, it's going to cause our training model to make mistakes in the future.
And before we keep too long on this technical topic, as long as we understand that you're focused on this 1 specific asteroid, and our focus is on this 1 specific asteroid and the potential 1.5 million. While I do think it's understandable why you want to introduce this dead zone, can we both agree that just putting this Gaussian filter in place to help improve the accuracy is something that we can do in the next 10 days?
I think that's definitely something we can do. Something I am concerned about is this is a potential band-aid on a bigger problem, which is these counterfeit chips that are coming out. So I'm all for putting in other things to make it better, but you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? So I guess you touch on that.
Yes, so that is definitely, this news is kind of alarming to Cosmoscape especially. While there is no conceivable way that we can absolutely replace this chip in the next 10 days for another meeting, that's something we can be transparent about. The current stance that we're taking on this is all satellites are made with field programmable gate arrays, which is something that where you can physically change the hardware to the sat link and change the hardware. So if the CPU chip is malfunctioning, we can further change asteroid and software to help limit the effects from it, because the main priority, as we established earlier, is getting the satellite up into effect. So I would like to.
And then obviously, after this 100-day go/no-go meeting where we decide, yes, we're going to be looking at alternative, CPU chips that'll work in the same manner, use the same language, so we can incorporate the same, hardware language onto it. But so that way we get rid of this defective chip, and then in the meantime, if we still keep that chip, like I said, we're going to offload a lot of the tasks to the CPU or the GPU.
sorry, I think I may have misheard you, but if the suspect chip is a CPU, CPUs aren't FPGAs.
Yes, we're doing anything, we're talking about anything that we can do between now and the no-go launch date to prove to position set that we can try to fix this issue.
CPUs are not FPGAs, they can't be reprogrammed, right?
We understand, we are saying, the Galway State is taking the position that we obviously know that we cannot make a correction to the CPU. We are trying to make this as close to 99% as we can. We are trying to decide what can we do, including the Gaussian noise filter on the synthetic data augmentation, uploads for updates to the FPGA, and updates to any software that needs to be to help fix this issue. Because we can both agree on, we need to do whatever we can to get this satellite in orbit.
Yeah, we definitely agree with that, and I think we've gotten really into the technical stuff. I think you actually brought up a programmatic issue that we're going to need to discuss. So, like you said, a lot of the issues we're seeing are software issues, and if we can do FPGA updates too, that's great. But let you talk on that.
Yeah, so I definitely think, like what you were saying, the Gaussian noise filter, incorporating keep out zones and some of the exposures to things that we were doing is something that we can continue to discuss with more technical experts in meetings that we have moving forward. Are you guys on board with having daily stand-ups so that way our engineers can work more closely together and incorporate these types of technical solutions? Because ultimately we are creating one system and it needs to be integrated appropriately, and having that project manager from position side will also help in that.
So to completely address your main 2 points, we like the idea. You called it an internal review board. Our proposal was an external review board. So in terms of external to your company and our company itself, so we want to comprise a team of professionals from your team, our team, and position sat. And on this ethics review board, we need to go over all the ethical problems, transparency, and in this problem as well, we can further go into the 1.5 million asteroids and see if that is a sacrifice we're willing to make when we come to bring it to position set. We just want to make sure that all ethical transgressions, whether it be through transparency on our part or the transparency on your part, are talked to the position set, and that we come to an agreement. We do agree with the daily stand-ups. We do think that is a good idea, as it will further increase the cooperation of our team, and that talks to your point about the lack of integration and the misrepresentation. We are just concerned that with only 10 days to go and we want to reach this 99 percentile, we make sure that we have the technical solution to help get to this 99%, which is the Gaussian filter that we proposed. And to cover your points of the lack of integration and misrepresentation, we do believe that this review board will help deal with those exact problems. So as long as you agree on this review board being members comprised of both parties and position set, and I propose that the daily meetings not take up too much resources of each company, but further on our integration, then we fully agree with this. We should go ahead with the review board. As long as tomorrow, we need to make sure that we come to position set and clearly say, these are the problems that we have, and these are the solutions that we are currently finding between us. And as long as you're good with that, we fully agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I just want to be clear. If we implement these freak-out zones, if we have this zone of a lot of inaccuracy, we're not missing 1.5 million asteroids. We will still see that part of the sky as we sweep around. So although we do have less accuracy, we don't miss everything. We will still be seeing these things. So we agree that it's important, but it should be presented to positions as their decision, right? But ultimately,
I just want to branch off on some of the things that you were talking about. When we were talking about an internal review board, the reason we came to that conclusion was because of the short time period that we have. So the internal review board would be people external to the project that we're working on within each of our companies that are not integrated or have any affiliations to these projects. And the reason for that is because we have a very short time and budget, right? So that's why our internal review boards can work together and collaborate together, and positions that we would love for them to also integrate themselves into that and keep us accountable as well. But it's not something I think that we can expect all of us to 100% come together and have like a whole separate board doing this full time, because that's probably not something that we're capable of doing. But having internal review boards working together within both of our companies and having positions that work with them, I think will be very key.
Yes, I understand your concern of including people in there. There is 10 days until this 100-day no-go meeting. There is way too little time for us to bring external people and explain to everything and them to understand everything in detail. So that's why we're trying to include our engineers and our professionals. We believe those people that know the most about this and will take the least time in training. As long as we fully agree that we are compromising this review board of both members of your party, our party, and position stat, then I think we should go forward on that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's exactly our idea.
Yeah.
I wanted to just jump in before we run out of time. So we're gonna do the daily stand-ups, which I really like as that idea, especially as we have some problems coming to light, and it will increase the team cohesiveness and transparency towards position stat at this 100-unit meeting. So with the synthetic data augmentation, using the Gaussian filter that we proposed, and incorporating in y'all's keep out zones, if we reach that 99%, we're good to go with the launch. And then even if not, even if we're still at 98.7, we're still good. And then the counterfeit chips, obviously we just go completely transparent with that. We tell them exactly what's going on, what we're doing to fix it by the 120-day mark, and then we'll elaborate, go
Yeah,
from there.
so I guess as we're wrapping up, I think our technical solutions, we are all on board, and also with having internal review boards on both sides and having those integrated together and having engineers and professionals within our companies working together on that, I think we're on board with that. I think one thing that we just need to discuss is for because the no-go meeting is in 10 days, having the daily stand-ups and writing a technical memo to have everything completely laid out and 100% transparent from both of our engineers and professionals on both sides, as well as having a lawyers meeting to have IP agreements drafted up for all parties. So make sure that everything's on the table and in writing, so we all are on the same page moving forward.
Yes, as long as that goes within the standards of our agreeable parties with the external review board, as long as they consist of the previous agreements, we're really fine with that.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So now we move into our 5-minute Q&A session. Judges, we have the 5 minutes. It's up to you how you put your questions out there. I'm starting the 5-minute session right now.
I guess I'll ask the first question here. How do you believe the setbacks in performance, there have been some IP issues, there have been some conflict issues, coming up in this counterfeit parts issue. How do you think that will impact your long-term relationship with position sat, especially given the fact that this is the first time that they've been made aware of these concerns so close to the delivery date?
Yeah, I think that is a super important point. I think the thing that we agreed on first was this review board. And I think this review board will cover a lot of these transparency issues and a lot of the technical solutions that would come forward. So while we can't completely salvage our reputation, both compensate and tech AI with our transparency issues, we believe this review board that we have come to an agreement on will at least alleviate some of the reputational issues, as the main priority is getting this 2-year safety period not ignored and getting this satellite up into space. And then hopefully positions that will recognize our diligence and our ideals on protecting the people.
So I think ultimately the issues come with a lack of communication, and so integrating what we've discussed as a review board will be key. Having more meetings with position sat and having that project integrated will also be really essential for them to be more proactive in what's going on and not just giving us their baby and us doing whatever we want, right? So they can be more proactive in that. If they're able to give us that would be ideal. And also having those daily stand-ups and writing a technical memo and having this more frequent communication with position sat so they know exactly where we are, what we're working on, the risks, and where we think we can be, but also like where we are now at every step of the way. So we're 100% transparent with them.
So I actually have a little bit of a follow-up on that. So if I'm understanding both your individual, part of your individual mitigation plans and what I think you've agreed to, does include basically assigning some responsibilities to position staff. Have you thought about what if that's not something that they care to research or consider part of their responsibilities?
Absolutely. I mean, part of the reason of doing the internal review board on both of our ends is so that we don't put it on position side that they have to do it. It's more of an option if they want to participate in our review boards, because we'll be working very closely together in that. And the project integrator would be an ideal solution from them, but ultimately it's their decision whether they want to provide that or not in the next 30 days. But working together having more communication on a daily basis, having our engineers and teams working together will help with that integration that we were lacking beforehand.
So just to completely address your problem, if you heard during our discussion about this review board, that was the main point that we brought up. We cannot immediately expect that a contractor will delegate their own resources, money, and time to transparency issues and issues that they leave in us as the subcontractors to fulfill ourselves. And that's why we were mainly making the point on being comprised of mainly our engineers and our professionals. And then hopefully too, on your point where you're asking the position staff to come and help, hopefully if they are willing to delegate their time and resources, that they would also help. But we're mainly relying on professionals and our engineers.
I would like to ask a little bit, when you work through your process for communicating to positions that the possibility that this suspect part, this counterfeit equipment that might have infiltrated your system, can you describe a little bit as to what your story would be that there aren't other parts, or does it reflect into software or elsewhere kind of across the system that needs to be considered?
So from the current information that we have, it was an industry alert that there was a higher normal amount of counterfeit parts that made their way to the supply chain. And on the investigation, it's only that has to do with the CPU chips. So there's no other reason or worry to detect other parts as of right now. We are mainly worried about the CPU chip, and we're hoping with the hardware updates we discussed and the software updates we discussed, that will hopefully suffice position stat and to dealing with that issue.
And these internal review boards will be vetting the parts, to make sure there's no infiltration on other systems as well. And if we need to scrap it, because, we believe this integrity of the system is flawed, then that would be something that comes after. But at the end of the day, we're just giving our recommendation to position stat on whether they should launch or not. And as their subcontractors, it is our responsibility to be completely transparent with them.
And so just to understand, you rely on that external memo kind of communicating the status of things rather than internal processes to ensure that you don't have counterfeit parts?
Yes.
Time for one more question.
It's kind of a two-part question, and we got about 3 seconds, so, go ahead and ask it.
Feel free.
You talked about putting the Gaussian filter on the equipment. Do you have enough time to do that?
Yes. So the current plan is that we are trying to meet this 99% percentile accuracy. The plan is to try to introduce this in these next 10 days to hopefully convince position staff that once we actually get into orbit, if we don't reach that 99%, like we discussed and agreed upon before, that we will launch either ways. But hopefully it's enough ammunition when we bring it to a position staff to prove our point that we are further going into this issue, and that if we're not reaching this 99% accuracy, we can do further updates to the satellite uplink for both the FPGAs and the software on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I agree with everything they said, and we're gonna do our best to get there, but if we don't, we can't lie about it. I just wanna also, a little wrinkle is, if we want to do these continuous software updates, we're gonna need to go to position side with a continuous service agreement. So that's an option that we'll be able to present to them. Here's where we're at, here's the mitigations we have, and if you want a continuing service agreement, we can do that as well. But I don't think we can rely on having updates if position side doesn't want it.
Okay, thank you.
So that concludes our final for the 2024 Ethics and Engineering Competition. Can we have a round of applause?